To the coup in Myanmar, this obviously is a very distressing situation and likely to, certainly no change in terms of the position for the Democracy Party and activists in the short term, Greg.
No, Kieran, I think this is a very tragic situation, but it's also a big strategic challenge for Australia. If the soldiers start killing people in large numbers, there'll be no alternative but for the West to impose sanctions and diplomatic isolation and so on. But that would be an absolute tragedy. We should avoid that if we possibly can. We should maintain diplomatic relations and maintain engagement and avoid wide-ranging sanctions, maybe levy sanctions on a couple of individuals. Because if we isolate Burma or Myanmar, all that will happen is it will go back completely into the strategic embrace of China. Now, China already has two strategic clients within ASEAN in Cambodia and Laos. You don't want Beijing to have complete monopoly control over three ASEAN members. And also that would be terribly bad for the Myanmar people because, economic sanctions won't hurt the military rulers. They make money out of the illegal drugs trade and illegal people smuggling and all the rest of it. And they'll live the life of Riley as ever. But the Myanmar people would suffer devastatingly if we levied wide-ranging sanctions. So I think New Zealand's move to cut off all dialogue is just the sort of nonsense you expect from New Zealand. They always do the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. I think the Morrison government has been well advised to be very cautious in its reaction. And what we should be trying to persuade the Myanmar military to do is to behave something like the Thai military or the old Indonesian military, retain control if they must, but create some kind of democratic fig leaf and get into as much dialogue and co-option of their society as they possibly can, not to rule simply through an iron fist.
The first phase of the WHO investigation into COVID-19 reported overnight. I'll be talking to Alexander Downer about this in about half an hour from now, but I'm interested in your initial reaction to what we've seen. Nothing definitive from the scientists involved.
No, Kieran, I think this investigation lacks all credibility. The WHO lacks all credibility. So my view is I'm not a conspiracy theory person. I don't think that the Chinese created this virus on purpose, nor do I think on balance it's likely that it escaped by accident from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. I don't base that on anything other than the assessment of Australia's best agencies. Australia's best scientific and intelligence agencies have examined this matter exhaustively, and their conclusion is that it's overwhelmingly likely that the virus originated in China through the interaction of wild animals and human beings, almost certainly in a wildlife wet market. Now, WHO has also said possibly the virus originated somewhere other than China. Well, that is just exactly what Beijing wants to hear, and WHO has been quite subservient to Beijing. So I think this is a very unsatisfactory investigation. As to a matter you were discussing earlier, what price did Australia pay for calling for this investigation? I don't accept the Chinese narrative that all the punishment we've had subsequently is because we called for this investigation. I do accept the criticism of the Morrison government that it would have been much better to do this in company with others. But, when the Chinese decide to punish a nation for a whole host of reasons, they often focus on one thing that a government they don't like has done in order to generate within that society the idea that it is the fault of that it's Australia's fault that we're having this crisis with China. What China doesn't like about Australia is that we blocked Huawei from participating in 5G. We passed foreign interference legislation. We stopped them investing in some of our critical infrastructure. That's much more important to them than our call for this inquiry. So I don't think this inquiry has achieved anything. I don't think it has any credibility, but I don't accept the Chinese proposition that our call for this inquiry is what has provoked all their kind of completely unreasonable behaviour ever since. I mean, it's Beijing which has decided to be unreasonable here, not Canberra.
Greg Sheridan, great to chat as always. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kieran.